Hello everyone, this is Dr. Lennon, and I'm going to walk you through, give you some advice on this problem number 4, Vollmer manufacturing on Excel. So this is very similar to the problem we did before with the catcher's mitts and regular baseball gloves. And essentially what we've got going on here is we've got a company that's making 3 different components, and they need to utilize 2 machines to make these. And you've got hourly restrictions on how much shaper time and how much grinder time you have. So, and with that, we want to maximize the profit. So the first thing I did was I just copied the chart into Excel right here with the 3 components, the shaper and the grinder. And we're trying to maximize profit. So our changing variables are how many of each of the components we sell. So I just made a sales column with component 1, 2, and 3, and then had just entered as starting values 1 for each of them, just kind of like a dummy value to start, and then Solver will optimize those based on our constraints. So those are our by changing cells according to the Solver. And then the profit formula is pretty easy. Let me hit Control tilde for you. So we make $8 profit contribution for component 1, $6 profit contribution for component 2, and $9 profit contribution for component 3. So it's just 8 times this cell plus 6 times the cell plus 9 times the B10 cell. All right, let's look back at the problem and see what kind of restrictions we have. Well, we have no more than 200 units. Well, okay, so we have hourly times, 120 hours for the grinder and 110 hours. So 120 for the shaper and 110 for the grinder. So let's use the table to figure out how many hours we're going to be using for each of these. So hours on the shaper and hours on the grinder. So these are pretty easy product sum formulas, or sum product rather. Sum product, let's use that. Essentially what we want to do for the shaper, we take the shaper array and we multiply that by our changing cells, how many of them we sell, and that will give the total hours. So notice 6 times 1 plus 4 times 1 plus 4 times 1 will give us the number in this cell, which comes out to 14. And then we do the same thing for grinder. We do sum product, and we're doing the grinder array and multiplying that with our changing cells. And that gives the hours on the grinder. So notice 4 plus 5 plus 2 times the changing cells comes out to 11. So now we've got our hours. So these are going to be some of the other constraints. So what are the constraints now? 120 for the shaper, 110 for the grinder. Then we've got a restriction of 200 units of component 3 maximum, 1,000 units of each of the others. So each of the others, component 2 and component 3, needs to be less than 1,000, and you already have 600 orders of component 1. So let's think about how we'd enter those in the solver. So data solver. Okay. So our objective function is the profit function. We're changing these 3 cells, and then we just need to enter our constraints. Oh, my objective isn't. It's wrong. So there we go. Now let's add some constraints. Okay, so we needed the shaper hours to be less than 120 and the grinder hours to be less than or equal to 110. So shaper should be less than or equal to 120. Grinder needs to be less than or equal to 110. And then we have the 3 other production constraints. So we have 200 for 3 and 1,000 for, 200 of component 3 and 1,000 each for 1 and 2 is our maximum. So this 1 needs to be less than or equal to 200. And then 1 and 2 you can sell up to 1,000. 1 and 2 less than or equal to 1,000. Alright, one last constraint I believe. We have 600 units of component 1. So there's already that many orders, which means the component 1 also has to be, I did the wrong thing. So component 1 right here, cell B8 needs to be greater than or equal to 600 because we already have that many orders. And those should give you all your constraints. So B10 less than or equal to 200, at most 200 units there. B14, the hours of the shaper, less than 120. B15, less than or equal to 110. B8, less than or equal to 1,000. So maximum 1,000, we already have 600 orders, so greater than 600. And component 2 also has to be less than or equal to 1,000. Notice we didn't do anything fancy in terms of formulas. Our profit function is just 3 numbers multiplied with the changing cells. So that's just going to be a simplex linear programming. And I won't run it for you, but this or some equivalent form is how you need to set the problem up. So hopefully that helps, and good luck on the rest of the funnel.